Hi guys, Togo here with a new video, and I'm very sorry for making this video. I'm actually very sorry because I like DK, so it's about Frost DK, and I will not lie, it is currently busted, so I will also write it in the title. I will also have thumbnails about it, and it is definitely not a clickbait. So they have changed Frost DK by a few things, so they buffed like all the spells pretty much. They also buffed Frost Strike, Rhyme Procs, Obliterate. They removed the PvP talent, which is the Remorsous Winter AoE stun. So you could AoE stun every 30 seconds, and you would have a go every 1 minute pretty much, or you could like arrange it. That is gone. Now your only stun is Frostwyrm's Fury, which is a good thing. Getting stuns away from the game is a good start, but it should happen on every single class, but that's another debate. But currently, we have a replacement to the PvP talent. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is Death's Cold Embrace. I already made a video on the BTR. Blizzard doesn't watch my videos, and that's fine. I don't really care about that. But the issue is Death's Cold Embrace is that currently it's busted, and it's very hard to make it not busted. So let me explain. I also have examples in a real game. I can't show you because I didn't make a video while I was playing, because I was not planning to make this video. Like, it's 17, it's 5 o'clock, so pretty much I'm going to take my daughter from school. So I do it like for 5-10 minutes. Literally, this is not okay. It makes your Pillar of Frost. It will grant you Remorsous Winter, which again will increase its damage by 750% and its radius by 150%. But also drastically the movement speed is drastically reduced. So you are slow walking. You're like this the whole game, and you cannot like press any button to improve your speed. So that's a thing that you should know. So it has a negative effect. It also has a negative, which is Pillar of Frost cooldown is increased by 15 seconds. So it is a 1 minute CD. This talent will reduce it for 15 seconds. This is literally saying, "Lo, this talent is useless." It becomes a 1 minute CD. So you have to take Ice Cap, or else it's a 1 minute 15 seconds, and that is really bad. You don't want to have like such a weirdly placed CD, because you want to not overlap it, right? You want to have a Pillar of Frost. The second one should be a kill. Now the issue is, in any way, shape or form, what you're doing, if you're doing it correctly, you are killing every single go. If you're not killing in your first go, you basically messed up something. For example, you didn't double blind, or you didn't double stun with Frostwyrm Fury, or your druid cycloned your kill target, something like that. Okay, this is making it very OP. But then you didn't account about the fact that you have multiple modifiers onto Remorsous Winter. Everfrost, which is Remorsous Winter, deals 6% increased damage to enemies it hits up to 10 times. So you can basically already have a 60% rolling up on the target if you are first and foremost starting with Remorsous Winter and then doing a Pillar of Frost. Because it stays, it doesn't overwrit. It's not like they recognize it's a second Remorsous Winter, so it has to start to 0. Basically, you can already have a 60% increase. Then you also have a 35% increase on Biting Cold, which is fine. And the first time Remorsous Winter deals damage to 3 different enemies, you will gain Rhyme, which is always a quality of life thing. You don't really need to have that to deal the damage. Then you have another modifier, which is Gathering Storm. Each rune spent during Remorsous Winter increases its damage by 10%, up to 100%. So you could have a 60% modifier into a 35% modifier into a 100% modifier, and extending its duration as well, may I say. And then you have also a 750% modifier, and as you may know, if you do a bit of math, it means tons of damage. I don't even need to say how much like percent it is. It is a very big percent. And I'm going to show you a few examples of soul shuffle damage I did. I did 6 rounds. I'm actually surprised that nobody left. 6 rounds. The first round was literally, this is a bug, it's not 360k DPS, it's way more. Remorsous Winter Obliterate. that scored a kill, pretty much. I'm not going to say the healers are not like fantastic either. They didn't do like a good job. That's the truth. They could have probably played a bit better. But the damage is really high. Like Remorseless Winter hitting, like critting for 670k and Obliterates doing 760k on the same global. So you're pretty much like are doomed, especially if I'm like silencing you. This round was like the first round I played Frost Decay since a long while. So I did fail and still managed to clean the round. Then we have the second round. We go again. This is like 1.6 million DPS, by the way. This is not 370k. You can just count it if you want to. It is way more than 370k because the match it was not long. Like it was directly finished. You can see the duration 1 minute. That's not true. That 1 minute is like literally the waiting time every single round. So I don't know why it's accounted 1 minute, but it was not a 1 minute. It's every single go you win. I casted 1 Remorseless Winter. You see, I have only casted 2 Frost Strikes, right? Frost Strikes, Remorseless Winter critting for 900k, and that was without the great setup I said with like starting with Remorseless Winter and then into a Pillar of Frost. I couldn't be asked. Like what I did is grab him, blinding him, Pillar of Frost, and then doing the Frostwyrm's Fury together because obviously it's like without GCD. And then you're doing your go, which is your Rhyme proc into Obliterate or your Frost Strike into Obliterate, and you can do on and on with that amount of damage. So it's always going to be good. Obviously, what I liked is that it is OP. So at that point, I was really laughing. But people were not laughing. The healers were like, oh, I'm going to reroll. I said, like, look, it's busted, I know, but you could have defended way better. Obviously, they cannot defend themselves whenever I'm silencing them because they don't know when to trinket or when not to trinket. But it is like the damage is AoE, guys. It's not like reduced when you hit a secondary target. It's literally like everyone gets the same amount of damage AoE. So you see, he got the damage, he got the damage, he got the damage. It's really hard to defend versus that. And then you have obviously the other rounds. Again, another round here. This one, 22 million damage compared to the ones that have like 10 million. This had like a 864k crit, and with 50 hits, again, Obliterate's also doing 1 million. So obviously the damage is really high, and it's like intense. You cannot really defend versus that. For example, he couldn't do too much once he was CC'd. You could say that arguably before the patch, they already were like very hard to survive to like a Frost Decay. Like a Frost Decay can actually win versus a healer because of the CC. But I think with the free damage you get from Remorseless Winter, you see it actually hits 2 times. It hits it 660k and then another 672k, so it did 2 hits at the same time. It's really hard to just heal through that because he was fully hotted. You see a growth tending, so it means that he swift mended himself, wild growth, life bloom, cultivation, rejuvenation. He has everything. I don't really care right now about the random BG, so I'm not going to talk about that. You have here, for example, I died. I didn't play well, but I was top DPS, but I didn't get healed by the healer. It is what it is. It can happen. I did a crit of 1.1 million damage on a AoE aura. It's an aura. Literally, you do Remorseless Winter, it is around you. You don't need to do anything. It just does damage. So it's very, very strong. Like, again, you have to account that you have Frost Strikes, you have your Obliterates, you have obviously your Silence, your Stun, you have also your mate. Your teammate can also deal some insane amount of damage. So that accounted as well. And then obviously you have the other rounds that are also very impressive. For example, this one, literally, like, I'm always top DPS. I was like tripling the DPS from everyone. And everyone was like in awe, like they didn't know how or what came. So there are 2 things. Either everyone doesn't know how to play against the DK, and that's fine, or everyone kind of knows how the DK works, but you cannot really counter it. So that's one or the other. I'm going to explain how the damage is like currently on a dummy. The dummy is obviously going to take more damage than a player, but as you may see, I have shown you the real numbers on a player, but how do you set it up? Now I'm going to show you really quickly. And then I'm also going to say that it's mostly going to be nerfed, right? So what do? You walk up. It's very simple. You can even start directly with a grip. Boom, you grip him, and then you can just start your go. Here, for example, Remorseless Winter, you use your runes. So I use my runes whenever I can. I use even like here. And then if I'm ready to do a go, boom, He still has 10 stacks. Still has 10 stacks, and this is like crazy damage. Like, this is... You cannot defend yourself to that. Then you get silenced and it is over. Literally. What can you do versus that? Nothing. And then you can have another Remorseless Winter, and that is not going to be as strong as the first one, but it has all the stacks. It has the 10 stacks, it has the 60% stacks, the 50% stacks, excuse me. I think that you have some PvP modifiers. For example, here it's 30%, 50%, so I'm wrong about the 60% here, about the 100% here, but it's still very, very strong, right? It's still like, the damage is not healable. You see, I critted for 1.6 million. I did an obliterate of 1.8 million. I have frost strikes from 1 million. I have 1.1 million normal hits, which is crazy as well. So you should also remember that it is like a frost decay. So is it going to be nerfed? Most likely. I personally want it to be nerfed because even if I'm like loving frost decay and how it plays right now with this talent, it is not sustainable. Like, imagine in an RPG, literally the whole zone is literally damaging zone. So if you're standing here, you're taking the damage, right? So it's kind of crazy, like the range it has. So I don't think it should be staying at least like this. It is modifiers upon modifiers. I hope they don't kill the modifiers on the other spells, because that's not the issue. The issue is this spell. How much damage is acceptable for this PvP talent to be useful? Well, I think if you actually nerf it to... I don't know. Should you nerf it 50%? I think if you nerf it 50%, you might not take it, because you're really slow. Like, people could just run away from me. It's not like you could actually like keep them in your zone, because you're like in a dead zone. If you're here, you cannot grip someone like in front of you like this. Like, it's not going to help you. You could grip, but it's tough, right? You can of course slow them, but if it's a resto druid, he can always take away. Again, you have also paladins that have bubbles, freedom, whatever. They could actually just run away from you. That is a reality. Now, do you want to play? Do you want to balance a class based on what other people can do, or do you balance the class based on what the class can do? That's a discussion for another day, most likely. I would say it actually needs at least a 25% nerf, if not more. It could be a 35% or a 30%, but it still needs to have some utility. So I would maybe nerf, I would buff the movement speed. I think the movement speed is too slow. Like I said, this is like a slow, like it's a slow walk. You literally cannot move. It's really hard, and obviously it is because it's strong, and I understand, but you're very, very slow, like very slow. I think it's tough to say that it is a positive if the damage is not good. If the damage is good, it becomes like, okay, that's a negative for a positive. But if the damage is not good enough, then why bother with that talent? Because you're going to improve, you're going to have a longer Pillar of Frost go, because it's a 1-minute CD instead of a 45-second CD. You're making yourself very, very slow as well. You're going to eventually break CC, because again, it's the aura is very, very big. So if someone is trapped for some reason, you're not going to be able to avoid that. So since the damage is high enough to actually break traps, since they did a change on thresholds and whatnot, you don't. For example, if you're doing this and someone is polymorphed, it doesn't break the polymorph now. From what I've seen, multiple times I stood into a AoE, and I didn't get like unpolymorphed, like it didn't break polymorph. So I guess it's like a threshold thing where it depends on the damage it does per tick. But I think at the end of the day, do you want, like, I would like to have a full rework of Frost Decay, because in PvP it doesn't really work. I think in PvE Frost Decay is decent, so that's why people are like not really concerned about like reworks or whatnot. But in PvP, I do believe like it needs a rework, and that is kind of a rework, to be fair. Like, this really makes you like a brawler style. Well, if they're all new, if they are both melees, they're going to take full-on damage. They cannot really avoid it except run away from it. So they have to respect it. Is it something you want it to be respected? So people are like doing a mini game where they have to get away from you every minute. Or do you make it like decently enough that it is not OP and they don't have to run away, But if they stay, they take heavy damage. Like, I don't know, they should find a thing. So I'm very sorry for the Frost Decay enjoyers. I was bound to make that video. I already made that video in PTR as well, so you can check that out if you want to. I think it's like 2 weeks ago, something like that. I already made that video. I already said it was too strong, it was too hilarious, it is bound to be nerfed, impossible it comes out like this. At the end, it actually came out like this, so it's very weird that they like let it be. And the issue is, I'm very scared that they nerf everything around it except this. No, you should nerf this, not touch the other modifiers, because that's not the issue. The issue is that one talent that has a crazy modifier, and then try to scale it back and test it out. Like, is it good enough? Is it not good enough? And that kind of needs testing. And I tested for Blizzard. Literally, I tested. I did even made a ticket about it. I said, look, this is too big. If you make it out like this, it's going to be eventually nerfed. So please step back, try it out for a bit less. They didn't really do anything with it. It is what it is. I'm nobody in PTR anyway, so I don't expect them to listen. But this is like literally a concern. So I want Frost Decay to be strong. I want Frost Decay to be very fun. It's actually very fun with this. I like this talent. I like the effect it has, like literally the Lich King stepping forward to you, and like every time you're going to go near him, you are like freezing to death. That's cool, and I like the fantasy, but the reality is that it is maybe a bit too oppressive. I did a 5-1 on a lobby where 2 healers are not really that great. It still were doing tranquility. Imagine that it was a bubble, so they got like wrecked with it because of an instant mind freeze. I mean, it could be a healer diff. It could be also like if you're facing a Paladin, you don't have that issue. If you're facing an evoker, you're not going to be able to do that, for example. That could be, but like if I'm dueling that guy, he has like no chance to actually win versus me, except if he turtles that first pillar of frost directly. If he actually like has to like react with their defensive directly, then you can actually survive that. But do you want to be that bursty or that like surprising to an enemy? Like, do you want it to be like whenever I'm pressing Pillar of Frost that they have to press the defensive directly? That's a concern that Blizzard has to imagine for themselves, like if they want that for the game or not. Personally, I think it's a bit too strong. I showed you numbers, I showed you on a dummy how it is done. Luckily for you guys and for us, like again, I love Frost Decay, but the truth is it's not a popular spec, so you're not going to see a lot of Frost Decays like out of the blue playing that spec. It's not like very popular, so you're not going to see an army of Frost Decays like you see with Arms Warriors or BM Hunters or Fury Warriors or Demon Hunters, but it still needs to be addressed. So again, thank you for watching, have a great day, bye.